Good morning. It is October 12th. It's early in the morning. I'm sitting here in my stitchy spot, enjoying my new wood stove with a beautiful glass insert so I can see the fire. We finally had to get rid of our old stove that was like 30 years old. But I am putting together this fractional stitch pumpkin stitch along and had just cut the actual stitch along video so short, right to business, that I wanted to put an introduction in here. So the pattern is a PDF and it is up on my website, moonflowerstudio.biz, B-I-Z. If you go to the cross stitch page, I just made all these pages, so hopefully the links are working. But if you go to the cross stitch page and then scroll down, you should just see the pumpkin PDF that you can download um, and use off your phone or print out. So I think that's all I needed to say. And let's jump in to learning about fractional stitches that are not hard. They're like a purl to a knit. They're actually easier than a knit. Like they're easier than a crochet. I know how to knit. I don't know how to crochet, and I've tried to crochet a couple times, and for some reason my brain, knitting is easier with all the, the knit togethers and the slip overs, and I actually enjoy lace knitting, but I haven't figured out crocheting. So I do understand if you're just like, man, I'm not getting it. But it's gettable. Like, I think you can get it, and it really does open up many, many more options for cross stitching, and also the option to stitch on a smaller count or a larger holes, but get the same results. So yeah, let's stitch together a fractional freebie pumpkin. Um, so fractional stitches when you're looking at your chart. We should talk about that for a second. Let me get my needle out here to point. So if you look at the grass, you have your green symbol, which is like these three dots, and then you have this, paw print kind of looking symbol that is the orange. And, each square, going up means, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many for a complete square. And then you switch and then you do this one. These are what is called a fractional stitch. So if you look, this square has now been divided in half, where it's telling you that you need to have a line of green on this side and a line of orange on this side. And that's creating a diagonal line. If we look here, like at the pumpkin, you can make really long diagonal lines by using fractional stitches. There's fractional stitches there. There's fractional stitches here. I can make a triangle because I'm using fractional stitches. Where if I wasn't using fractional stitches, it would be, as I was saying, look pixelated, kind of bumpy, not a real smooth line. Or if I didn't want to have that look, then I would have to go with a much, much smaller count to minimize, the bumpiness and make the line look smoother. So let me show you on paper what I mean. Let me get my pen. This is going to be rough, but I think this will help. So make sure that I can see and you can see. So you have, you put my glasses on so I can see. So, basically we talk about a square. Well, a square is made up of, if you're talking about linen, you go over to
2 threads, and then your square is putting your needle in here, and then you make an X, to make a cross stitch. If you're talking about Aida, oddly, Aida actually has 4 threads this way and 4 threads this way that are interwoven in each other, and then your holes are here, here, and here, and you make an X like that. But that's a different video. So fractional, what fractional means, excuse me, I just need to get a drink. What fractional means is in your square, whether it's achieved like this or like this, you have your 4 holes. A full cross stitch, you're making an X by putting your thread in each direction to make an X. And that's how you fill up your holes. You fill up your square. Fractional, there's 3 other fractions, it's your junior high algebra. Is algebra or geometry? Algebra. You have your 4 holes. A half stitch means that you're only putting your thread either direction in 2 holes. You're using half the holes. Quarter stitch and 3/4 stitch is going off this idea, again, either in Aida or linen, you have, multiple threads in Aida, or in linen, if this was linen, you'd have 2 and 2. For a quarter or 3/4, you are puncturing, or you're putting your thread, or bring your thread up through that center. So up through the 2 holes in linen, or piercing through not one chunky thread, but where you have 2 threads on each side in Aida. And then in 1/4, you're taking it from the center and you're just doing that. And I have not really used a lot of quarters. I'm sure there's reasons to use them. I just haven't gotten into anything where I thought I needed to use them. I use halves and 3/4. So this is a half. This is a 3/4. No, sorry. This is a quarter. To do the 3/4, it is, you're basically in your triangle, oh dear goodness, your square, what you're trying to achieve is to solidly fill this in with one color, and then solidly fill this in with some other color, instead of your square being solidly colored in. You're wanting to divide it like there. So the way you do a 3/4 is you come up in that center, you do a quarter, and then you do a half. And it's called a 3/4 because you're only hitting 1, 2, 3 of the holes. Where in a full, you're hitting 1, 2, 3, 4 holes. In a half, you're hitting 1, 2 holes. And in a quarter, the center one doesn't count. You're only hitting 1 hole. So these are your fractional stitches. And contrary to what people think, yes, you can do fractional stitches on Aida, and it was designed to do fractional stitches on it. There's absolutely no reason you can't do fractional stitches on Aida. In a lot of ways, it'll be easier on Aida than it will be on linen. Because the problem with linen that people deal with is there is nothing keeping. That's why people that stitch on linen will use hoops and really tighten it down extremely, like they talk about it, where it sounds like a drum, like they've tightened it down. Because when you're doing these fractional stitches and you're coming up in that center and you're going different directions, there's really not a lot to keep these threads, these individual threads, from slightly moving, and the whole object is to keep them perpendicular to each other and not have them askew because you're pulling on them different ways and slightly making them go off askew. Where in Ada, this interwovenness that's happening with those 4 threads each direction is designed where you can pull a lot harder on Ada and not askew or not make these of the vertical and the horizontal threads not perpendicular with each other. So I'm sure we'll refer to that again. So I tried to show you a 3/4 and a 1/4 and a half in hand in the project, and I got seasick. So I'm going back and I'm going to do some samples on this, and then I'll finish on the pumpkin pattern themselves. But you can see that Ada is actually made up of interwoven 4 threads going this direction and 4 threads going this direction. It's not one thread. And that's why you don't, you can pull on Ada more in hand than you can linen and not have it go all wonky and askew because you have all these threads interwoven. So let me not get this knotted, or I'm going to do a pin stitch to get started, or my version of a pin stitch, and then I will show you. Was that a good spot? There, that's kind of the center. All right, so a pin stitch. I went up through the center, so I split those. I didn't split a thread. I just pushed two of the threads to this side and 2 of the threads to that side. So now I'm going to pull up as far as I dare. I gotta feel how much thread I have. Oh, see, I went too far. Let's try that again. Just keeping a little tail in the back. And now I'm in the center, and now I'm just going to kind of go in now on one side of those 2 threads. Kind of micro stitch is what I call it. And then come up and kind of, I should have done this on the diagonal. All right, so it's not going anywhere now. All right, and I'm just going to make this one a full cross. So I'm just going to kind of do it again. Go one way and go the other way. Okay, so that's a full cross stitch. I have used 1, 2, 3, 4, all those things. That is a full cross stitch. If I wanted to do a half stitch, I would, like I showed you the diagram, I would just go diagonally and use 2 holes. That's a half stitch. If I wanted to use a 1/4 stitch, I'm going to come up in that center where I'm pushing 2 threads to each side, up to the center first, and then I'm going to come down only 1 leg. And that is a 1/4 stitch because I've only used 1 hole. 1, 2, 3, 4 holes for the full stitch or whole stitch. 1, 2 for the half stitch. 1 hole, we don't count the center. 1 hole for the 1/4 stitch. When I want to do a 3/4 stitch, to start one out, I'm going to go up to the center again. I'm going to go down to make a 1/4, but I'm not going to pull tight. I'm going to keep it kind of loose. And then I'm going to go like a half stitch up another hole, and I'm going to go diagonally across the center hole. I'm not going to use, wherever my quarter stitch is, I'm not going to use the hole across from it. And then I'm going to come down. And then when I kind of get to this point, I usually do this in hand, so this is a little weird. But I'm going to take my finger. I feel I can do. So I'm going to take my thumb and kind of push it over to its side. Again, I don't stitch in a hoop, so this is a little weird for me. I can also use a needle. I can use a needle to push it to its side, and then with my hand underneath, I'm going to just kind of pull a little bit and tighten it. So that's how you make a 3/4. So there's 1 3/4. So if I was going to go diagonal with 3/4, say for some reason I'm going diagonal. Here's another one. And I usually don't come up on this side. I usually like to come up on a clean side. And then I'm actually coming down into the same hole that I made that one. And then come up, puncture, not poke through the center. So I'm coming up in the center. Gonna go, this way. And then I like to come up and down. And I'll do one more. So find that, the center. And that's one reason why I use a very pointy, sharp needle. Because it's easier to come up through those, find that hole in between those threads. So then come up and then make a half. All right, so now I have a diagonal line of 3/4. Okay, so I now have switched colors so that you can just see this better. And locked my thread. So the way I do it is if I am then coming in like in our pattern, like here, where it's not like here, you're just doing one 3/4 and you're not adding another quarter there. So you're not trying to do this, where you're trying to color in the other half of the triangle. So, if you're doing like here, that's what you have here. But now we're going to make it like we have to fill in the other half. Now we're going to make it like we need to fill in the other half of the triangle. Or like here. So if it's like this, where you have one color on one side and one color on the other side of the box, then this is how I do it. So basically, if we were doing a row, say we were just, this was like a row. That, so you can kind of see it better if it's a full row. And I don't stitch in hoops, so this is kind of different for me. I'm not used to this. Right, so I've done this row, and say I'm coming down now to do this row. So you can see this thing is like right in my eyeball, so you can probably hear me breathing. I saw my X's are all over the place because I'm hurrying. All right, so I've done the 2 holes, the full cross stitch. So I want now to fill this other side, because you can see there's nothing there. I don't do a full cross stitch, I just do a half. So I just literally come up the same holes that I'd gone down with the orange. And then when I kind of get to this point, I am going to, if I can do this, hold back. I'm going to hold, I'll try and do this right-handed. So how can I do this so the camera can see? I'm going to hold back. Okay, I got it. So I'm holding onto the thread. I'm holding onto the thread with this hand underneath. I have hold of it. But before I pull it, I'm going to pull back that orange a little bit and kind of pull down so that that green gets right beside it. And then come up and finish this. I also like to come up away kind of in a cleaner spot. So I'm going to push back, come down, and I'm going to push back that orange and then find my thread. There's my thread. Okay. I'm going to push back that orange with my thumb or with my needle, and then kind of pull with my hand that doesn't have the needle and help that green get in there. And I usually don't do a full 3/4 I just pulled my needle off. I usually don't do a 3/4, another 3/4. So in a box, I usually do a 3/4 and then a half. Where am I? I need to finish. Oh, come on, where are you? I need to finish this one. Oh, I didn't finish that one either. Okay, finish this one. Finish this one. Okay, and so then I need to do this one. I'm doing this so out of order. So I'm going to come up. Come on, where's the hole? Come up. Oh, I didn't want to come up there. I wanted to come up at the top. Come up that same hole. Come down. With my needle, push aside the previous color and kind of help that one get in there. And I usually don't add my tail. Now, if for some reason I'm in an area where I'm like, oh, actually I think I need to add my tail, then all you need to do, so say like this one here, if I think I want to add my tail to that one, all you have to do is once you've done that, once you have done the half across, then you're just going to come up. So basically you do the other one backwards to how you do the first one. First time I start with the 1/4 and I add the half. The second one that fills up the square, I do the half. And then if I think I need to, I'll add the 1/4. So I've come up on that 4th hole, and then I'm just going to take my needle and kind of go underneath and just puncture down in what kind of feels like the center. And there's a full one. So there you go. So there's the 2 ways to do it. So on your pattern, if I was, so okay, so those are the two ways to do it. And on your pattern, this, you know, is the orange. And then if it's a fill-in spot, like here, then that's how that looks. And I don't usually add that quarter. Now, when I'm counting, if you're familiar with music, I don't count my quarters. So say like here, to count, I only count my holes. So it's kind of like music. You go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. That's how I count. So I would literally go 3/4, like I go diagonal, or some word like an and. I kind of go boop. It just in my head, boop bump. So it's like a boop. So there's a boop, 1, 2, 3, boop. Or this is 1, 2, boop. You know, boop, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boop. But I don't count this. So if I was stitching this, I don't start with that. So it's 1, 2, 3, boop. So the way I stitch that is I literally go. See, I want to do it that way, and I can't stitch that way. 1, 2, 3. If you're just out in the middle of nowhere, I like to finish a whole stitch before I do a fractional stitch. So I would finish off the last of my whole stitches. And then, so I finished off my last whole stitch. And then I'm going to do my boop or my diagonal. And when you're looking at your pattern, like here, the long, this is your half stitch, this direction is your quarter stitch. So I need to tell myself what corner do I want to put my leg for my quarter stitch. So here I want it to be right upper. So I'm going to go to this hole. And then I did my quarter, and then I go down, you know, push it aside a tad with my needle, and then kind of pull down and anchor it. Then I go back up, because remember we were starting this row with a 3/4, and we haven't stitched it yet. So then I go up, now I need to do a 3/4 at the top of this row. I'm going to look here, and it goes diagonally this way, which means that I want my quarter stitch to come down in the lower left-hand corner. So now I'm going to go lower left-hand corner, and then across. But I don't count. When I do my count, I never count a fractional stitch as a 1. It's 1. It's bop, 1, 2, 3, bop. It just really will mess you up if you don't do it that way. Okay, let me show you, because the pumpkin pattern, the one online, has a lace border, and that green does not show up as well as this orange. So I want to switch back over to the orange. Okay, so let me just anchor. So pin stitch, in theory, should go diagonal. So this is my understanding of. Oh, there's the green stuck in with it. Come on. So I'm in the center. If I was on linen, I would have come up through that, the two spaces. So a pin stitch, you're going to go down. It's like a figure eight. You're going to go down one side and then come up on your other half of your diagonal and then go back down. So like in theory, you kind of made your first part of your X, but it's actually been divided. And then if you make your other half of your X, you know, it just looks like an X. All right, so on to make that border. Have that pattern in front of me, so, but you'll see that when I say lace pattern. So the way I did the lace pattern is it's just 3/4 stitches. So there's one, and I'm just going on diagonal, making sure that I pierce. And there's a whole variations. I've only done a few variations on a lace 3/4. So now I've gone up, and now I'm going to start to go down. So to go down, I'm going to come back up that same hole. And now this time I'm going to go down in the center of the neighbor square at the top. And then go the other direction. So where's my pattern? Oh, I'm getting green in there again. I can feel there's a huge knot, but I'm not stopping because I want to get this done. So there's my triangle, my lace pattern. Now I could keep going on, but I wanted to show you the corner. Because the corner, so you could do many things. You could do a triangle like this, do another square, and then start your triangle, your corner going down. But the way I have the pattern designed is that I'm using this square here for both this triangle and this triangle. So now, so that's one. So now I need 4 this direction. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, this is way better than getting seasick. 4. And then go. And it is really easy to get off count, making that border. So just, you just gonna have to kind of pay attention and use your eyeballs to kind of make sure that it's where it's supposed to be. And but the corner is usually where you get one count off, because you're not counting this corner twice. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I'm going to go this way. I'm going up. Okay, and then I'm going to use the same hole again, puncture the center, and I recommend not, stitching a whole, like not stitching this entire row completely and then doing this part. If you have variegated, your variegated will be prettier if it's kind of swirling around. And also if you do make a mistake, it'll be easier to fix if this knot isn't a continuous thing. So now I would just keep going. Oops, see, I can't go down there. I should do this first. Okay, so then I would keep coming down this way. 1, 2. Can you make this loose enough that I can actually go through this way? You can, yay. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then what I usually do is I do that, and then I actually come up. I kind of do this, like I said, this figure 8 pattern. So then I go this way, do that quarter stitch, half stitch, get a knot, another, come up to in between, come down, come up, come down, come up that same hole, come down, up the center, and then when I'm back, like I said, it's like a figure 8. So now I'm back to this point. So then I can't go down. I have to go down that hole, because if I came up that hole, I'd undo my thread. But then I just come down. Okay. And then I'll do it one more time. But I can't come up. Well, I could, because I finished off a hole, so I can't come up this hole. Okay, so one more time. So I'm here. I'm going to go 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see it. And then I'm going to finish off that last one. And then I'm going to come up the center. Again, if it's linen, you'll be coming up in between those 2 threads. With Aida, you're coming up, pushing 2 threads to each side of that interwoven that Aida is, because it's not just one big thread. And I'm going to come up that same hole again. I don't know what I did there. I wasn't paying attention. I didn't do it quite right. But you know what? Nobody's ever going to know. Okay, so there's another triangle. I can't come up this way because I'll undo my last stitch. So I'm going to go backwards as I lose my needle. Go down. I can't do the side stitching this other direction in a hoop apparently. Okay, so that is the 3/4. So there you go. So there is your, just see how this makes that nice, very flat corner? Pay attention that you use that as one as you when you turn the corner. I think I've covered most of everything. Like I said, I tried to do this in hand as I made the pumpkin and it just turned out scary. But yeah, but so this, you know, I showed you how to do it this way. And then I showed you how to do it if you're adding color. And then I showed you what you're doing if you are like for that lace border. So whole stitch, half stitch, 1/4 stitch, 3/4 stitch. Okay, so on our fractional pumpkin freebie, because of my schedule, I needed to stitch some. I really want to get this out this weekend, and thought I should stitch a good chunk of it, saving fractional parts for us to stitch together ish. So I have done focus. I have done 4 of the segments. There's one more segment here. This segment here I haven't done yet. So that's there, but you can see I got this great diagonal line by doing all fractional down that way. Where if I had did X's, it would still work, but you would have more of a zigzag look than a straight look. So you can see over here, there's fractionals there, and then there's 2 there. They're kind of broken up on this side. And then it's also what makes the grass have points instead of just being squared off. So let me get my marmalade, and then we'll do this. Okay, so we are here needing to do those first, and then we'll get into the real serious fractional. So there's only really one fractional right there that I've already shown you how to do. So I'm going to start here and stitch over, and then I'll get back on when I get to here to show you how to do these, do the double fractional. Okay, so I have now gone across here, and I am here, and I am ready to start going down on that diagonal. So I've shown you how to do a 3/4. I've shown you how to do a 3/4 just the first one, the first side. And like here, that's how they look if nothing's going to go next to them. That was the hardest part. if if you're going to have one that comes next to them, like here, I don't do another 3/4. I actually do a half. So like on this one, if I was coming down, and again, this is not necessarily the way I usually stitch. I'm just trying to keep in the camera. So if I'm coming down, oh my goodness, can't find the holes, to here, same thing, I want to anchor it next to a hole stitch if I can. So the closest hole stitch I'm going to finish, and then I just do a half, not a 3/4, just a half. So I come in the 2 holes diagonal, and the same way that we finish a 3/4, I want to take my thumb and kind of push that 3/4 off to the side so that then the half nestles down diagonal. So let me do another one. I guess I should say it's not as important to anchor, because you already kind of have already anchored. So if I jump down to this one, so I'm coming up through the same hole that this is going up and down. I'm doing the same thing again. When I get close, I'm going to get this new color off to the side, and I'm going to use my thumb to push back that original diagonal so that this slides down close. And then usually, not always, but usually, you really don't need to add that little extra leg from that third hole. Usually just doing a half is enough. And sometimes it can look like you're smashing too much stuff into the same hole. Just turn this over and see if I can do it better upside down. Can you see? One. Oh, itchy nose, of course. 2. 3. Okay, so here's my last hole stitch. So I'm going to anchor, since I'm going this way, I'm just going to anchor this one. Okay, and then I'm going to go up and down through those diagonal holes. When I get close, I'm going to push back I'm pushing back that darker orange with my thumbnail, and then I'm just pulling with this hand to tighten that orange. And I usually don't think you need to add that little leg. You can, but I don't think, I usually don't, unless it's in some weird thing, and then I will, if I think I need to fill a space in. Okay, so that was my 7th. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That was my 7th straight. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now I need to do a diagonal down, and I should be 1, 2, 3, 4 diagonal. So you can see, I can see. So I'm going to go up in the middle of your 8 of your linen, down. I'm not pulling really tight yet. And then I'm going to go across diagonally. And then when I get close, I'm going to kind of help with my thumbnail or the needle and kind of just give it a tug to secure it. And then we need to, it should be, if I'm right on my count, there's like a fuzz. We should be 4 away. So let's see if we're right. Here. And you're there. You can see, okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Finish off that whole cross stitch and then come up that hole, down that hole, push that aside, push that original orange back a little bit, and then, so I guess it's, I don't know what to call it. It's a 3/4 plus a half. Oopsies. I got that fuzz, it won't go away. So, all right, so we did this. Now we're going to go diagonal 1, 2, 3. And this is a really easy way to count your rows, is just, I just count, okay, I'm going diagonal 1, 2, 3 rows. Okay. So you can see, I can see. So I'm going to go up in the center, down to make that quarter stitch. I'm not pulling tight. And then up diagonal, and then across. And then at this point, I'm going to push it over a tad and kind of give it a pull. Okay, so now, grab a drink here. Okay. You can see, I can see. Okay, so now I'm going to go down. Secure that closest full stitch. Come up that same hole. Go across, come down that same diagonal hole. Push those aside. Push that back. And then stitch back up that row. And then what I say, we need 3 diagonal. So now I'm just going to come down a row, go in the center, come down to that, well, bottom if it wasn't upside down hole. Come across. So see, I'm starting to create that diagonal. How many times can I say diagonal? And then I can't come up that hole because I would undo my thread, so I have to do one backwards. Make sure I stay in camera. I want to split my thread. Stop bobbing around. Okay, so finish that X off. So, okay, so we have our 3 diagonal and our 3 diagonal. Now we're going to drop down 1, 2, and then have a diagonal. But when I count, I like to count, not include the 3/4, like in music, where you're counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, not counting the and these are basically like an and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and, or whatever word in your head you need to say to have that be an and. So here I want to count only my whole stitches. So this is 1, 2, 3. This is 3 down where the and is, but it's 4 down where I start my whole stitch. And then I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'll have an and. So 4 down, 5 down. So I need to count that way. So here, I'm not going to count this. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. But I know I want to start here on the 4th hole. And then, what did I say? If I did that right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm not going to do this 3/4 yet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, finish my full stitch to anchor that quarter, and then come up through the diagonals, pull that one back, and anchor my diagonal. And then come up, back up to where I started. What did I do there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Kind of add in a stitch there. Looking through the camera. I think I kind of did, because I can't see. We're going to call it good. I might be off 1 stitch. But for demonstration purposes of a 3/4 stitch, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so then I'm going to go up to the center. come down, diagonal. All right.
So I just kept stitching away on this, and I was getting seasick looking at it, watching it, just because I stitch in hand and I flip around so much, that I really don't know how much benefit it is to watch this more. I think I've covered all of the different ways you deal with recorder, either just a diagonal line to begin with, or if you add in another color on the other side of the square in the other triangle using a half stitch, and the counting is probably one of the hardest things, and I just emphasize that I don't count the 3/4. I don't count fractional stitches. I just do it like music, where they're an and, or they're an addition, but I get the where the whole stitches go, stitch those first, then come back and then put in the 3/4 basically in your counting. So yeah, so that is my first horribly seasick video on fractional stitches, and hopefully, I'll get better. I mean, in the hoop is great as for demonstration purposes, but like I said, I don't stitch in hand. So maybe next time I'll try at this stage to put it in a hoop after I've stitched a chunk of it in hand to have it be a little bit better and not so seasick for you. So there you go, and I hope you try fractional, and I will keep putting things out for freebies and patterns to try them. So have a great day. It's a beautiful fall day, and we will see you later.